doing the handrails on the top deck. Here's a piece that I've just cut off. I'm just about to mount it, and this is D38. Now the only problem with these handrails, much like the ladders, they're very, very intricately flimsy. You've got to cut those little tiny bits of excess sprue off. So you're going to have to get your X-Acto knife, stroke Swan Morton knife, and very, very carefully nip those things off. I've now glued smokestack 4 onto its roof. It's not looking too bad. Again, with that little sheet of plastic put in there like that as a cap, so that gives my G-clamp something to glue onto. Left it for a couple of hours to dry. I've now wrapped the rigging thread around the smokestack because I don't want it flapping round when I glue it onto the deck there. Clamping the completed smokestack 4 assembly onto the top deck now. I've got me 4 trigger clamps in each of the corners. From what I can see, it looks like it's going to be glued right down. Hopefully there won't be a gap issue. So all I've got to do now is just wait for the couple of hours for it to dry. Right, I've took the clamps away from smokestack 4. It's glued down really nice, there's no gap issues from what I can see. Turning it round. Yeah, it looks like it's gone down really well. So that's smokestack 4 complete. I've also done the completed deck house between smokestacks 3 and 4. Ran the glue all the way around that little grey raised area underneath. I put one clamp there and one clamp on this side. I'd not long took these away either. And that connects into the clear deck house. There's like a squared hollowed out section which sits on top of that. But that's looking nice as well. Not bad at all. Right, welcome back. I've done a lot of work on the top deck. If you remember from my previous update, I've just glued down smokestack number 4 on top of the deck. And now I've done that, it's enabled me to start work on the hand railing. For the first update, I was waiting for smokestack 4 to dry on top of that plate before I actually glued it down to the deck. I started a bit of work on the top deck area between smokestack 1 and 2 for the hand railing. And what I'd been doing is I've just ran the glue on each section where I needed to put the hand railing down. As per the plans, you can see it's all little bits and you've got to put them together. So I just got my tweezers after I'd run the glue down on each little bit of section. So I just got my tweezers and pushed them down and just worked my way around. Put all the extra few bits on with these little air vents as well, and this tube in here, and the collapsibles 1 and 2. And then once that had dried, I then went on to the middle section with the observation platform, again with all the hand railing, putting it round bit by bit, and then did that. Let that dry. Then I started work on smokestack number 3. Now smokestack number 3, this section here, it tells you to put it all together before you glue it down, but I found that it wouldn't line up properly. So I just put it on piece by piece, and it's gone down really nice. I also did the same for this side as well. And then it tells you to glue number D40 into place. Was it D40? No, D45. I didn't put that in straight away because I had to put this tubing down for the smokestack number 3. Now turning the plans round, I glued the tubing that sits on top of the deck house first, but I had to widen the holes slightly. Once I'd widened the holes, I just glued it down, and then it glues right onto the bottom of smokestack number 3, both sides there, but it curls up slightly at the end, so you can put these on, these 2 bits of tubing here. The only problem being, what I had to do is I ran a touch of super glue around the top of the tubing that went up slightly, and then I did a test fit of this tubing and the one on the other side to make sure I got the alignment right. Once I realised that, I put it down on the base tubing first and then pushed it up into the smokestack, because I just put a little super glue onto the back of the tubing that goes on the smokestack, so I got the alignment right. Once all that had dry and cured, I then put D45 into place and then carried on with the deckhouse railing there. I put this piece on as well to complete the deckhouse railing, and then I started work on the railing on smokestack 4, and all the way round you got this bit of tubing as well that goes from the back of smokestack 4 to that deckhouse. Now with that, you can see the hand railing is sticking over the top of the tubing, which is D56, which goes there, and then you've got which one was that one now? Yeah, D49, which goes on this section just behind the smokestack. But it tells you to cut a little bit out to accommodate that tubing, so that's what I did. Cut it out very, very carefully and then put them down. And it goes over, where is it? Where have I put it? Oh, there it is. And it goes over, you can see it accommodates the room of the tube and puts it down very, very nicely indeed. And I had to widen the holes for that as well. But not looking too bad at all with the railing. I'm really well chuffed with this railing. Now I don't know if you've noticed, as I've been giving you a little guided tour of the railing, you can see little bits are missing where I've had to cut it off the sprue and sand it down, because what I did is with the D sprue and the E sprue that accommodates all these parts, because the D sprue is mainly the railing and then the E sprue is just the little sundry parts that you put on after, like these vent tubing. What I'd done is I'd primered and whitened the sprue, and then as I've cut each piece off, I've had to sand it down, cut the excess sprue off. So what I'm going to have to do is all these bits that you can see where I've cut it off, I'm going to have to get the handrail matte white and top those up with my brush. But apart from that, I'm loving this top deck. It's turned out really well, absolutely fantastic indeed. Welcome back. I've started threading the rigging through the smokestacks. Here's my rigging thread on its reel. I left it on the reel, thread it through there from the underneath into hole 1 of smokestack number 1. Thread it through and put it to hole 3, because you missed hole 2 completely, because hole 2 is for the thread that you glue onto the deck plate between smokestack 2 and 3. So you pull that and thread it through number 2 and leave it be. So from hole 3 you go underneath through there, underneath a deck, pull it back through that hole to hole 4, thread it through on the inside of the smokestack to hole 5, put it down there, underneath there, through that hole, and then you got hole number 6. And then at hole number 6 you cut it off. Leave a bit of excess, because what you've got to do, hole number 2 thread off the deck plate and hole number 6 you have to tie in a knot as per the plans. So you get your bit of excess, you tie it in a knot about here, put a drop of super glue on, pull it taut on both threads, and then knot it again, pull it taut, and then a drop more super glue, and then leave that to set. And then you go back to your first hole, cut it off the reel and turning that on its side. Then what I did is the little bit of loose thread, pulled it through the hole, taut, and then back through the davit hole, whoops, and then drop my super glue there underneath, pulled it through my tweezers and pull it taut let the glue set. And then again with the on the reel, did rinse and repeat on there. Then you get your other piece of the opposite side from the deck plate through hole number 2, tying up number 6 with a knot, super glue knot, and that's it. Now with smokestack number 2, while it was on the cardboard thread, again rinse and repeat. Just put it through inside, thread, thread underneath, put it through the smokestack, thread, thread, and then just do that. And then you got one edge, you got that one loose end there, and then you tie it and then you cut it off there. Because on the plans it tells you to make your little stretch sprue candle peg, and you've got a little peg on the underneath of the deck pulling down. So turning this back over again, I didn't need to make my little candle stretch plug, because there was another peg there pulling down, very tight, very tiny. And then what you do is you just pull it taut, a bit of drop of super glue with your cocktail stick, wrap it round, pull it taut, wrap it round, pull it taut, and that's it. And then you just taut these into those little channels there. You get your drop of super glue, just taut those so they go into the grooves, and then you got this last bit here, drop of super glue around that little peg and just wrap it round. Rinse and repeat on the other side for smokestack 2. And these smokestacks are looking really nice with that thread, so I'll just give it a couple of hours to cure, and then I'll start on smokestack 3 and 4. Moving on to smokestack 3 and 4 with the rigging. It's pretty much rinse and repeat from all the others. On the reel, down here, I just in and out, through the smokestacks underneath the deck, and just glue them down like I've done with the others. You can probably just make out that I've got a bit of excess I've got to cut off, and in those channels as well. Same with smokestack 4. Again, start there, in, out, in, out, in, out. Repeat the process. The only problem is I had to unwrap the thread that comes out from the platform of smokestack 4, because if you remember from the previous update, I wrapped it round the smokestack to stop it getting in the way when I glued the platform down. So I had to drape it down with the other threads that I'm down here as well, those two there. I had the same issue with the ones on the bridge as well. But now all 4 smokestacks are done, and then looking absolutely fantastic. Not bad at all.